Welcome to another online lab. Today we're going to be testing our foods for proteins, and we are looking at the same 6 foods that we tested for carbohydrates. So again, those were mashed potatoes, peanut butter, peanut oil, corn syrup, cornstarch, and sugar, and those are all dissolved in water mostly, but the peanut butter was dissolved in alcohol, so we are testing the water and the alcohol as well. Keep in mind that we want to test the solvents to make sure that there's no protein present in the solvent, and that if we do get a positive result from one of our foods, that protein came from the food and not the solvent itself. So before we get started, I need my safety equipment, so I'm going to put my goggles on. The solution that we are using today is called biuret, and biuret is toxic. If it gets on your skin, it burns. If it gets in your eyes, it can cause eye damage. If it gets in your lungs, it can cause lung damage. So we're going to be very careful with our biuret solution. Now, just so you can see what it looks like, it is this nice, pretty pale blue color. And if we have a positive result for proteins, we're going to see a purple color instead of that light blue color. Now, I want you to go ahead and make your hypothesis about which ones of these foods do you think have proteins in them. And as you are making that hypothesis, I'm going to set up this lab very much in the same way that we did for carbohydrates. So each test tube is going to get 2 pipettes worth of the appropriate solution. And I do want to be very careful not to contaminate one test tube with the contents that should be in another test tube. Okay, so I have gone through and I have put 2 droppers worth or pipettes worth of each food into the appropriate test tube. Very careful not to contaminate. So to actually run the test, I'm going to use the biuret solution. And just to make it visible for you, we are going to use 1 dropper's worth of biuret in each one of these test tubes. And again, we are looking for this blue color to actually be purple when it goes into the food. Okay, so I have gone through and I have put 1 dropper's worth of the biuret into each one of these test tubes. And remember, we are looking for a purple color to indicate whether or not we have any protein. So let's look at our solvents first. We have our water and our alcohol, and both of these are a very pale blue color, so that indicates that there is no protein in water or alcohol, which is what we should expect, and these are not contaminated. So that tells us we can have some faith in our results from our foods. So if we look at our 6 foods, we can see that all of these are a pretty pale blue color except for number 2. Number 2 is distinctly purple if you can see that. And I think you can see that pretty well. So that indicates that food number 2 does have proteins in it. So we can go back here to our chart and check off peanut butter. And hopefully that makes sense to you that peanut butter would have lots of protein. Now, just to make sure that our results are supported by our nutrition facts, let's look at those. In our mashed potatoes, we can see that you do have 2 grams of protein, but that's not a lot in a serving size of mashed potatoes. So it's just too little for this test to be able to pick that up. Keep in mind that mashed potatoes are mostly starch. If we look at the peanut butter, on the other hand, we have 7 grams of protein, which is quite a bit, so it makes sense that we would see that purple color. If we look at the peanut oil, we have no proteins whatsoever. You can see that there at the bottom. With the corn syrup, we also have no proteins. Same with our cornstarch. There are no proteins here. And same for our sugar. There is no protein present there either. So we can see that our nutrition labels do support the results that we found from this lab. For your assignment, I just want you to write 2 brief paragraphs telling me how we tested for these macromolecules, and then answer the conclusion questions that are on your Canvas page about which foods tested positive for the proteins, does this make sense with the nutrition labels, and did this match your hypothesis? Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you next time.